As the trade deadline inches closer and closer, reports have came out that a blockbuster trade is brewing for the Toronto Maple Leafs and that a trade over the coming days could be inevitable regarding some major key players both coming and going from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to break down that crazy report in this episode. But before we do want to say that this episode is sponsored by Rentals.ca, and it's no surprise to any of us that Leafs fans have wanted moves for a while, and with the Leafs having clear holes in their lineup still, injuries have been piling up the entire season. The fans have been calling for Brad Treliving to make some moves, make some shakeups to the team, and if you feel like you need some changes in your life, then it's time to move, and Rentals.ca has you covered.
You can rent houses, apartments, condos, whatever it is. Rentals.ca has you covered. From coast to coast, you can go straight to Rentals.ca's website that's clean and easy to use. You can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, and Rentals.ca will find you the best rental listings.
Yeah, and they're Canada's largest apartment hunting network, so make sure to check them out. They're huge Leafs fans. They've been supporting us, so check out the link in the pinned comment and the description as well. And thank you to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this one. And it's kind of ironic. We're talking about making moves, and it seems like the Leafs might be brewing a huge trade. Tons of different stuff is going down. We'll preface this by saying nothing has officially been reported yet from any of the major guys, but there's some other things kind of happening here, and let's just get right into it. Now, Darius, there's going to be a lot of screenshots. This is from Incarcerated Bob. If you're unfamiliar with him, he's broken a lot of things in the past. He's broken the Tavares thing. He's broken many other moves. Again, it's up to you to whether you want to believe this or not. It is not Elliot Friedman saying this, but it's very likely that it's going to happen. He's reported tons of things. He's plugged in for sure. And he says the Leafs are up to something big with the Western Conference team in the last 24 hours. Buzz is coming from Canada. And then basically this is from Sam Turpak. He's a Leafs writer, I believe. He says this could be a bigger deal than you think. Guys going both ways. Picks, prospects. We will see where this heads. I would not be surprised if the defensive group looks very different sooner than later. And there's a lot more screenshots to get into here. This is from Andy and Rono saying there are rumors the Leafs are working on something big. We hope it's true. We love chaos. Now, Darius, there is some more screenshots to get into specifically regarding what potential players could be going to Toronto, going back to Toronto. But what are your initial thoughts on this trade? I guess the rumors it is a bit wild, kind of came out of nowhere, but it seems like the Leafs are brewing a big trade, and I think we know the team that this could be with.
Well, I woke up to the tweet and everyone's kind of like quoting the tweet and is like, okay, but who is this? This is not Elliot Friedman or anybody, right? But if you can remember back a couple of years, this account broke the John Tavares signing as well as Matt Murray and a couple other things. So it does have a bit of a track record.
Yep.
There are some notable names that follow the account. So, I mean, like there has to be some stock into that. In terms of the trade, finally, we got some stuff, some rumblings, right? This is exciting. Like it's been a while, right? And in terms of, the West Coast, I think they already gave it away. It has to be the Calgary Flames. It has to be. And we talked about last week, Chris Tanev is the big name, right? But it was going to be too much for the Leafs to give up to get Chris Tanev because the asking price is a second-round pick. The Leafs don't have one for 3 years. We know the whole story, so it was going to be a first-round pick. Now the Leafs are like, all right, let's still get Chris Tanev, but let's get a couple other guys. We'll send a couple guys back. We'll make the salary work. It's going to be a big deal. This is reminding me, if Leaf fans watching this can remember, like a Dion Phaneuf situation where that day Brian Burke just said, you know what? The team's going to be different. And he made like 3 huge trades. It's kind of reminding me of that. I don't think we've seen it in a long time. And Brad Treliving's going back to what he knows. He's going back to the team that he just finished managing last year. And there's no doubt in my mind that it's the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, this is getting a little bit crazy. We don't know for sure that this is going to necessarily happen, but it definitely seems like a trade is going to happen. And a Western Conference team, the Flames definitely have been the biggest one. And I'll ask you this question, and it's a little bit scary, but if you think about this whole season so far, I think it makes a lot of sense regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, because if they stand pat, I don't think they have enough to win the Stanley Cup. Their defense isn't good enough. I mean, that's up to you guys to decide, and whether you agree with me or not is up to you. The goaltending is kind of up in the air still. But if they're going to make a run at the Cup, they need to do it by making a huge... You've been an advocate of this for the past 3 or 4 months, that they need to make a huge move, and I think it makes the most sense at this point. Either go for it or, I guess, stand pat and hope that things change. We're having a generational season from Austin Matthews. All these guys are playing well, some guys not playing well. You kind of have to go for it here, and I'm thinking... And there's some rumblings here as well. You may have seen the screenshots earlier. Noah Hanifin plus Chris Tanev might make a lot of sense. Again, the report says that the D core will be greatly changed. And I'll get to who you could think be going back in a minute. But I think it has to be, if it is a trade with the Flames and if this goes down, maybe Hanifin and Chris Tanev. I can't imagine who else the Flames... Again, it could just be the Predators. It could be some random team. Who knows? But if it is the Flames, I would have to believe it's going to be a Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin. And then you're looking into what the package could be, which we'll get into in a minute. That's a little bit scary, but we'll leave that for a second. I think Hanifin and Tanev might be hopefully be new Maple Leafs if this all comes to fruition. Maybe it might end up being nonsense. Who knows?
Yeah, like you said, I've been saying it for months. If you're gonna make a trade, this Leafs team, it's got to be a big splash. You have to upgrade significantly. There is no depth players this year. There is no acquiring Noel Achara like last year, right? It's not gonna make you better. This team is not good enough to compete. So if they're gonna get better, it's gonna have to be a big blockbuster trade, which we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, last year there were a couple big trades, right? But something that's before the deadline to make your team significantly better. Now there are a few things, like you said, like who's coming back the other way and who are the Leafs giving up, which is going to get a little scary. I'll give my, little tidbit of, who I think is going to be now. I think it's Chris Tanev coming back for sure. We've talked about him for months. His name's been in the rumor mill for months. I think Noah Hanifin's going to come back the other way too. But the only way Noah Hanifin comes to the Leafs is if he signs an extension. So that's going to have to be, I think that's something they're trying to figure out right now because the way everyone's talking about it on Twitter, this deal is actively being put together, right? So I think if Noah Hanifin is coming back the other way, he has to be signed. I don't think the Leafs have any interest in acquiring guys who don't want to be here past this summer, right? So I think that's definitely something they have to look at. They have to look at signing him long term because I think he does definitely make the team better. He's playing really well as of late. He scored a goal last night against the Bruins, so playing well. All right. And I would think that another roster player comes back the other way just to make things work. Could be a draft pick. Who knows? But in terms of leaving the Leafs, unfortunately, I think it's Nick Robertson. He just doesn't fit in with what they're trying to build. It's apparent if you watch the games that Keefe is not exactly ecstatic about this player. And it's not that he's not a good player. I think he's a great player. I just don't know if he fits in with where the Leafs are going right now and what the coach has envisioned for him, right? I just don't know if he fits in. So definitely him heading the other way, probably a first round pick. Yeah. There's going to be a bunch of variables, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And I think it's brewing. I think they're already working on it. It could be a day, it could be two. But I think we're going to get our answer soon.
Yeah. Or maybe it gets shut down by one of the major reporters and it falls apart. But I will ask, yeah, exactly. If Hanifin's coming back, you'd have to assume a first at least. I mean, absolutely a first is going to have to go the Flames' way, given the Jets paid a first for Sean Monahan. You have, of course, Elias Lindholm with a first-round pick, plus. What about Timothy Liljegren? I've seen some rumblings about him potentially being included. Maybe it's a Robertson, Liljegren first. Like, it's going to be something big. I just want to get your quick thoughts on that. And I also want to get your quick thoughts. You've seen the screenshot now. This is from Leafs Nation saying, in quote tweeting Bob's tweet here saying, genuinely terrified about a double down on mid, which is pretty funny. And it is something that I feel like could be a bit of a worry. But I think at this point, if they go ahead and they get Tanev and Hanifin, we're going to be selling. I'm not going to say the firm. Who knows if Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, any of these guys are going to be involved. Maybe that's what the sticking point is. I don't have a clue, but it's going to be scary. Any quick final thoughts before we wrap up? We're going to keep you guys updated on this. It could end up just being nonsense, but I think we're pretty confident at the very least a trade is coming. We'll keep it there.
I'm glad you bring up Liljegren. I think we're at the point now. I've been a huge Liljegren guy. Like I thought like he was going to be a lot better than he is. I think we're at the point now that he is what he is, and it's not looking fantastic, right? And that point in the tweet, I did see that tweet about doubling down on mid. I think right now, in this moment, if you were to trade Robertson and Liljegren and, a first round pick, but you get a couple more players back, maybe just not, Tanev and Hanifin, if you get a little bit more back, I think right now it's not doubling down on mid. That significantly makes you better. It's a good upgrade trade, right? In this moment, at least, that we haven't seen the ceiling of either player, I think, in my opinion, Liljegren and Robertson, that is. So it's going to hurt to see those guys go if they do go back the other way. But in terms of making your team better now in the window for the big guys like Auston Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, this is not doubling down on mid. This would make you significantly better. So I don't know. I'm excited to see if it does go through. It's all speculation at this point, but all signs point towards, Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin could be Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think that's exciting because it makes them better.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to keep an eye on for sure. We'll definitely have it covered over the next few days. I'm sure stuff will continue to brew, and hopefully a trade is coming. That'll wrap it up. Thank you, Renaissance.ca, for sponsoring this one. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, you can click on your screen now. It is also about trade talk, but we will see you tomorrow.